The village center was a writhing blur of sound and color. The drums thundered as generations of sons and daughters danced like the flames that lit the night, vibrant and filling the hollow with life. Sarah and I made our way to the heart of the nearest fire circle. Colorful bodies moved and glittered in refracted light as bright, leaping flames chased shadows to the rhythm of the drums. The many shell lanterns hanging from the canopy wildly reflected the light over the happy throng. The amount of color was surreal, the village both aglow and alive. As we made our way into the crowd, painted faces greeted us with blessings from all around. Sayu! My grandfather was already well drunk on wine and laughing hysterically as several colorful painted wildlings wrestled at him. He was all but stumbled off his seat as yet another of the wildlings pounced upon his back, and he likely would have were it not for one of the little scamps hanging from his outstretched prosthetic leg like a counterweight. He seemed to be having as much fun as they were. "Kael!" he called out merrily, his smile brimming through a multicolored beard. "Get over here, lad. Who is this lovely young flower you've got with you?" "Grandfather, it's Sarah," I responded. The disbelief on his face for a moment was as genuine as my own had been. That or he was poking fun. His aged-old face crinkled as he looked her over. "Balthar's girl? No." "Last I saw, she looked like one of these scrawny boys running about, and just as mean, too." "This here's a young lady, looks to me." His words slurred. He swayed a bit as he shot a wink my direction. His smile was every bit as warm as his spirit. Sarah stepped forward to playfully engage my Titan grandfather. "Oh, none to worry, old-timer." She widened her stance, placing both feet firmly on the earth and raising her guard. "I'll get back to running them boys like sheep come tomorrow." Kragar burst into laughter. His deep bellowing startled the wildlings, sending them to scurry for cover. Indeed, his deep laugh caught the attentions of many, rising above the rhythmic drive of the music. "Boy, har, har, har. Ah, there she is. Looks like a young woman sprouted under all that hair and dirt." His brimming smile returned. He reached out a hand and she met it with both of hers. My grandfather looked from her to me and nodded with approval as the wildlings moved back in around him. "Take care of one another. That's all it takes." He sniffled a bit. "And have a drink or two while you're at it." He laughed as he reached for a much-depleted wine bladder. "Now you two go have some fun. This old man is where he is tonight." His attentions returned to battle as the wildlings ambushed, climbing over him once again. The oldest of them had an impossible mess for hair, swinging from my grandfather's massive arm as it lifted the wine bladder to his mouth. For a moment they had my envy, for I had spent many a festival in this very way when I was a wildling. When at last he tired, my grandfather would gather their attentions with epic tales, told with the slur of wine by the heat of the fire. He told them but once a year, for the best stories are reserved and told sparingly. They were tales of terrible beasts from the past, of war, of triumph, and brotherhood. As a wildling, my favorite stories came from my unruly grandfather, Kragar the Proud. As we made our leave, I heard him begin the tale of Kimat, the demon Hatul that claimed the life of his late son. I knew this story well, as did all members of my house. This particular story had touched the hearts of my kin, and though I loved my grandfather's stories, I did not care to hear this one again. It was a tale that most certainly marred my memories, preventing complacency during my father's lessons. Kraton the Mighty had slain the beast of legend, one of the many icons carved into his powerful bow. Soon he had them gripped with his tail. Every year his stories grew more fantastic, the beast grew larger and the battles more fierce, as if the details somehow became sharper with time. As each new generation heard Kragar's words, the emotion in their reactions rekindled my own. The experience became grim with age, for the older children grew to understand why he shared such stories. Sarah and I bumped our way deeper into the crowd toward the village center. The drums beat faster. A new energy rippled through the people in a wave of excitement. All manner of costume and painted patterns decorated the bodies of my tribesmen, bringing even familiar faces together under exotic anonymity. The energy reflected in my heart, and the music had me. Sarah seemed to feel it too. We had found our place among the Divai. She turned and began to dance with the music, her movements rattling the beaded tendrils that hung loosely from her hips. I began to move with her, lost in the flashing colors reflected in all directions and the relentless drive of the drums. The bouncing crowd resounded with whoops and yells, dancers jumping high in the air around the raging fires that lit the village center. The excitement swelling in the village seemed to drive the players, and the music became more and more lively, evolving freely as the night pressed on. All worries melted. Fear and sorrow were not in this place, not on this night. Even the lashing tongues of the flames seemed to move in time with the powerful harmony, celebration surging through the throbbing pulse of stomping feet and beating drums. Bursts of color flashed wildly about the writhing mass of elaborately painted bodies, all moving in time, the drums the heartbeat driving them on. Soon we were both soaked in sweat, glistening like the colorful paint. The smell of wine permeated the air, mingled with the smell of fire and 100 dancing, sweat-covered bodies. My senses were overwhelmed with the splendor of our people, as Sarah and I danced our way around the inner fire circle in progression, leaping and jumping in time with the music. Every now and then a celebratory call would sound over the crowd to be passed and answered in time, reverberating through the village.